As part of each session that you do at Range of Motion, you will progress through the Range of Motion session flow. This is a series of steps that we've designed to maximize the benefit that you're able to get out of every training session you do, while at the same time keeping your musculo-skeletal system healthy. And our session flow poster will guide you through this process. You'll begin by grabbing your session flow card, and you'll notice that each column has a letter at the top, and these different letters represent the different positions and movements that we do here at Range of Motion. For example, column B is a setup position, F is pushing out, and column I is a pull-up or a hang. You'll circle each letter involved in your session. Now, for a lot of the sessions in your ROM programming, it'll tell you which letters to circle. And for the others, or if you're not sure, you can speak with your personal coach or one of our staff. So as soon as you've circled the letters, we know which columns we'll be working in, and we can make sure that the movements we're doing are specific to the sessions for that day. Just before we get into the actual session flow, it's worth mentioning our movement library. And this is available online, but also on the chart at Range of Motion. And the chart contains all the exercises and drills in our session flow. There's a picture, a written description, there's information on what fault that drill fixes, and a QR code that takes you to a video of that drill. To use that QR code, simply open up the normal camera app on your phone, point it at the square code, and tap the pop-up that appears on your screen, and the demo video will load right up. So the first step on our Range of Motion session flow is move, where we prepare your muscles and your joints for the ranges of movement that they're going to perform for that day. And you'll choose a minimum of 2 of the dynamic movement drills from each column in your session. Then we move on to step 2, which is pre-mobilize. And this helps to reduce any tightness that may prevent you from moving well. There may be certain faults that you often see in your movements that are caused by you being too tight. And if this is the case, you'll find the fault in each column and do as many or as few of the release drills and the stretch drills as you need to do. If you're not normally limited by tightness, however, we're interested instead in the stability, your ability to control movement. And you should move on to step 3, which is activate. Now, once again, there may be certain faults that you often see in your training that are caused by you being too loose or too underactive. If this is the case, find the fault in each column and do as many or as few of the activate and stabilize drills as you need to. So your body's now prepared for that day's movements. So we can move on to step 4, which is build. And this is where you start completing the actual exercises you'll be doing for that session, like front squats or push-ups. For any movements that are weighted, start with a very light weight and gradually build your way up until you're at the weight that you'll be doing for that session. For full body weight movements, just do enough reps that you feel like you're warmed up and ready to start. In step 5, you plan your goals and intent for that session. You work out your strategy and you identify the quality criteria for that session. It's a series of boxes that must be ticked to ensure good quality, safe, efficient, and effective movements. For optimal movement patterns, only repetitions that meet these strict criteria should be counted in your session itself. So then, following this, you complete your training session from your unique and individualized ROM programming. As soon as you've finished your training, your recovery starts straight away. And the harder the session, the more important you get this started immediately. So step 7 is recover, and this is super simple because you just spend a couple of minutes repeating the dynamic movements you did in step 1, which of course was move. If you're doing a session with your personal coach, this is also a great time to do step 8, which is the debrief, where you can talk about any key takeaways from the session itself. As you're doing the session, your personal coach will have made some additions to your session flow card. They'll have assessed your movement and they'll have identified one major fault that they saw in each column. And for each fault, they'll either put a dot on the letter S on your card or on the letter M. If they put a dot on the letter S, it means that the fault was caused by a lack of stability. If the dot is on the M, it was caused by a lack of mobility. So this now brings us to step 9, stabilize. For every dot over an S, you'll complete a minimum of one of the activate and stabilize drills for that fault. Then in step 10, which is post-mobilize, for every dot over an M, you'll complete a minimum of one of these stretch drills and a minimum of one of the release drills. If you can consistently follow the range of motion session flow, you'll be able to maximize your musculo-skeletal health and your physical performance, and ensure that you're always looking after your body.